And what is going on, everybody? So, welcome to episode 2 of the Between the Lines podcast. So, my buddy Tyler is going to be joining us a little bit late. So, we have a couple familiar faces. We got Jonathan from the ASAP Sports Network. So, pleasure to see him on. And then we got Joe. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
So, honestly, so far, we got some decent topics to really kind of go over. Especially now, obviously, with the lockout still in place. Some of the topics that I have right now are kind of still a bit old news, but I think we kind of need to give our thoughts on. But first, this thing to start off is Wander Franco is signing his 12-year, $225 million contract extension. I did make a video about
That's
this.
a big ass contract. That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah, for a guy who has not played, I just feel like I feel the Rays kind of overpaid because because you got to think too, like Wander Franco has not played a full 162 game season. So what? And I understand why they want to, they keep him there. It's very understandable. You traded away Willie Adames for a reason, obviously being the number one prospect in the minor leagues. But I think it's just like that's way too big. Dante.
I agree. That's way too big for a guy that hasn't played 162 games. And Willie Adames was really good for that Rays team again. We expect the Rays to be good again this year in that American League East division. They're front runners again every single year. The only thing, they strike out a lot, but again, their pitching has been very good, and they also can hit for power, and that's a huge of a risk. It's a reason why you trade away someone and you give away someone because you expect greatness, or you expect that guy that can come in and give you an extra boost in the lineup. So again, it's a little bit of a risk, despite the guy not playing out there playing baseball. But again, the Rays are a very good, talented team, and they're a very good hitting lineup. Even though they strike out a lot, they're a very good hitting lineup. So I'm expecting them to win the AL East again over the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. So again, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at the deal. They probably overpaid, but again, they got a lot of great people up and down that batting order.
Keith.
That's almost like a contract that's like Harper got and Mike Trout. That means that they ain't gonna plant in the way. My bad. Okay. That means that he's up there top notch with those guys. 11 years. It's a long time. 182 million. That's crazy. But no, he's a good player for the Rays. Definitely, they're going to be front runners again. But can they make it? Can they make it through this time? They just can't. They get stopped. They get shut down, and they can't go. They're good regular season team, but when playoff come, you don't see him at all. So Simon Franco, I guess it was a deal, but can he stay healthy and play a whole full season? Is the thing.
You got good old D coming in through.
Oh, spotlight with the new logo.
Yes, sir. And that's the thing too. Is like the earlier applied to that. There was a lot of things. Obviously, the hype that he had. Even talking about, like when's Franco going to come up? Because obviously at the time you still had Willie Adames still as a shortstop, still was productive. I just kind of feel like, they did overpay, but in that short amount of time, like he has set records that, or, been in like lists, like of some of the all time greats at the time, like the on base streak and all this stuff. Like, obviously 12-year, 225 million. It's like, despite not playing, was it like 60, almost like 60 something games that he's played, give or take. It's just like, it is a huge risk, but I think this is what the Rays were going to do. Plus, they're like the most analytical team in the major leagues. So, they can always find a way to beat you at any given point. So, and I kind of agree with Kate too. Like that's the one thing that the Rays have a tendency to really not do. Is not go push that go further. The furthest they got was what the NLCS. NLCS, if I'm not mistaken.
They went to the World Series against the Dodgers in that COVID year, and I think they lost in the World Series.
It's just like, you had a franchise. That franchise has been there since 1998. and only been to 2 World Series, 2008, and we know how it went that well that time. And then, in that that COVID year, I mean, it is what it is. But I think overall, I think it's a huge risk. But I think the Rays are really, like Dante said, that's just sort of just a powerhouse team to really that's going to beat you, especially with the long ball. In my honest opinion. Joe, Jonathan, you guys got anything to add?
I mean, it's definitely overpay. But hey, look, he gets financial security, and the Tampa Bay Rays, they lock up a homegrown budding superstar, a guy that's on the rise. They got a small sample size of him last season, and I mean, hey, he was simply amazing. So, I mean, you want to lock up a superstar player of that talent, or someone who's talented, and he definitely is that. It's a bit of a risk, sure. But hey, the Rays obviously see something in him. That's why they, decided to extend his contract. They thought it was a smart move. I mean, this is a team with a very smart front office. They just happen to have a low budget, and they always find a way to make it work. They're always at the top. They won the AL East, so they're always in the playoff picture. Somehow, some way, they find a way, and they rely on analytics. And hey, I like Franco. I think he's young. He's ahead of his time. He definitely has the talent, and he can swing the bat really well. He has a great eye. He's a patient hitter. He's well disciplined at the plate. I think this guy has many years in the majors, and it's also huge for Major League Baseball because now you're starting to see young superstars get paid.
That's true, and the other guy thing too, like he has pop from both sides as a switch hitter too, which last time I remember that we have not seen that as what maybe Chipper Jones, if not mistaken, in the '90s. But I mean, it's just like it's tough because it's like you don't see guys with usually they only have like power from the one side, but seeing what Wander Franco can do from both, it's just impressive. And like John said, Comet just being, just having that. That bright future for the Tampa Bay Rays, despite having a tight budget, but as very smart GM, to actually make that work. But all in all, I mean, I think it is a risk, but I think that risk is. I feel like that's going to really pay off for years to come for Wander Franco. But yeah, and then kind of go into topic 2. Obviously, with
Joe haven't elaborated on it.
Yeah, sorry, having some issues here. I think this is a great deal for the Rays. I think what they're doing and investing in Franco at that deal, they're averaging less than $20 million a year for a player that they feel can win an MVP. This deal to me is almost if Golden State at young Steph Curry, when he had some injured ankles, if they could have signed him to a long-term deal at good money, which they kind of ended up doing, it feels like the same thing. You're really hoping that the top echelon of where he can reach is worth the money. And if you're telling me a guy who, if he stays healthy, which in baseball we've seen, most guys, even if they start out a little unhealthy, can get more durable as their careers go because of position versatility, especially in the American League where he can DH or something if he needs to. I think this is a great investment by Tampa because in 6 years, if you have to rebuild, now you have a 27-year-old guy with, a very tradable deal that you can flip for more assets, which is what your franchise is built on. I just think it makes a lot of sense for Tampa Bay because if he works out, you're getting a steal. You avoid arbitration. You avoid all the pitfalls that are inevitably going to happen with this new CBA because they happened under the old CBA. So I think this is a great deal for Tampa Bay.
I mean, I couldn't agree more because
very good point.
That's a very good point,
man. Very good point.
It's just like, and the fact that, that's going to be probably, and look, I mean, we all talked about, Willie Adames is a good shortstop, but I think Wander Franco is going to very surpass him in talent and just in absolute, and, in production, the guy, what was his on base streak? 20 something games, 30 plus or something like that.
I believe it was 20, 22 games. I believe that he's reached on base.
Yeah. Which I can't remember because it's he was in the top like, you know, that's like the best all among rookies, you know, in a very short time span. It's like Joe, it's just like I'm thinking to myself, man, it's just like I think Tampa Bay really got themselves a good one. And this is the thing too, is just I feel like you know, getting some of these diamond in the rough kind of players like Wander Franco, but I kind of feel like he's really not that, because I kind of feel like Tampa Bay already knew what they were going to get from him. But I mean, I think just
you know, Robert, something I like to bring up one time. It's just the Yankees remind me of the Lakers. That talent that they got, Aaron Judge and Jonathan pretty much know why I might go right here with Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton paid all that money to get superstars, but all of a sudden the Rays in Boston are better than you, and you went out and spent all that money on stars. And the Yankees and Garrett Cole, he hasn't been right since the Spider Tech. He pretty much got exposed, and he hasn't been right since he left Houston. George Springer hasn't been right since he left Houston. But again, I think about that every day. The Rays in Boston are better than the Yankees in baseball. And the Yankees go out there and spend money on superstars, plug in nothing but strikeout players. If the Yankees not hitting the home run ball, then they're not scoring runs. They can't put multiple runs on the board if they're not hitting home runs. But again, I mean, the Rays, they don't get enough credit. I mean, I think they got a great general manager, and their pitching staff is underrated as well. That pitching staff was really, really good this year for the Tampa Bay Rays. And even though they got a lot of strikeout-prone guys, but they can hit you with a bomb in a heartbeat. And honestly, I'm very impressed how the Rays went from shit all the way up to elite all of a sudden in the American League East, in that American League East division.
And Dante, to add to that point too, like those teams that you mentioned, the Rays and the Red Sox and a couple others, the one thing that they did was also invest in pitching, which is something that the Yankees couldn't do. You know, I mean, and you know, obviously Judge, you know, would have thought it'd be, you know, considered for AL MVP, but you know, obviously Marcus Semien have a way better season than I would have expected. You know, for a guy, you know, set career highs, you know, in home runs and RBIs, it's like, what the heck? And then I mean Ohtani, which is really, I'm not surprised that he was in the MVP conversation. But obviously, you know, I think it was like, if I'm not mistaken, it was a unanimous decision for Ohtani. But then again, it's just like, you know, with Ohtani, like we haven't seen that at the last 100 years. Like, and now that's become another common thing too. Is like we're seeing some of these two-way players kind of breaking in and just kind of really changing what the game. What we would have thought, you know, is like you either pitch or you hit. That's what I've always thought. But seeing what Ohtani has done, like I was just like, man, like it's crazy though, man. I think it's just like these teams, like the one thing that they all had in common was invest in pitching. You know, I mean, Boston had a decent pitching staff, but the problem is sometimes there's pitching that can't stay healthy. I know Sale at one point was a little bit off because he was also coming back from Tommy John, which is understandable. Plus they're stuck with Pavetta and a few other like no names a little bit. Tampa Bay, I mean, they can flip flop a lot of other people from bullpen to the starting rotation. Like it's just like the Tampa Bay. The way I can describe it is like they're like the game of chess. The way they can like mix and match different pieces. It's
they're
just like
they're versatile and they could get very creative.
That's for certain. It's just like we're seeing, you know, really pay off for that success. Now the thing is, they got to start, you know, they got to go over that hump. You know, hopefully, you know, actually win the big one. But overall, I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see how really pays off. Now, it kind of since we mentioned the lockout, what are your guys' thoughts about the lockout?
I saw it coming from a mile away. I mean, after what happened during the COVID year, and they couldn't reach an agreement on a season, they took forever to finally come to some type of agreement. You knew this was the next step coming for Major League Baseball. Like you knew there was going to be an imminent lockout at some point, and now you're seeing it. And I mean, you know, it is what it is. Baseball's not in the greatest state right now, you know, and it's over money. And the reason for this lockout is because you have incompetent people in charge. You have people that have no business running Major League Baseball, and it's crippling the sport. It's sad to see the sport, come down the way it is, because this is a sport that's already in oblivion, believe it or not, and it's a sport that needs the right people in charge to turn it around. You already have a lot of people that don't tune into baseball because they feel the game is boring. They feel that it's no excitement, and it's not really attracting the younger generation like it is the older people who
like the late 90s, early 2000s, like
right.
that's because I mean, most of us we lived through that. That was the steroid era at the time, which
Exactly. So you had the steroid era, you have this debacle, and I mean, it's just things constantly happening. The sign stealing scandal, and that's a turnoff to the masses, and a lot of people are not going to tune in to watch. And now you have this ugly lockout, and I'm not sure if it lasts a long time. If this drags out, I'm not sure if baseball will ever recover from it.
It won't.
Yeah, not because we haven't really seen something like this since 1994, if I'm not mistaken.
The 94 World Series was canceled. I was again, as somebody who grew up in the 90s, not to take your time, Jonathan, this lockout makes me mad because anytime if you're a baseball fan, you hear the word lockout, they'll say, oh, well, they had one in 95. I don't care. We missed the World Series in 94. Like, I don't think people realize the historical numbers that were in play in 1994. Tony Gwynn's batting average. You had Matt Williams and Ken Griffey Jr. going for the home run record at the time. I mean, there were so many records that were possibly being set. The Toronto Blue Jays were building a dynasty. They were going to win another World Series probably. I mean, like, it's insane what we lost, and it took 2 years to come back. It took Cal Ripken on a September night in 1996 to really get the eyes of the nation back playing baseball, and another 2 years for roided out players to get the casual fans back. That's not built in. Jonathan, like you said, you have a commissioner who doesn't even like baseball. You have a perfect sport that is built for social media, for 15-second clips of catches, of strikeouts, of home runs, and everything, and they don't embrace it. How come Major League Baseball is not the biggest user of TikTok of all the four major sports? I mean, they are dying for something like this. You have this rich history of everything. And Major League Baseball does a really bad job of selling itself as a whole to the public. The NFL is the most dangerous sport in North America. Kids should not be playing it, and yet we tune into it every Sunday. Baseball is a game that everybody should be able to play, whether you're tall or short, man or woman, strong or weak. And everybody's just like, it's not for me because they do such a bad job of marketing it.
Yeah, and that's a very good point.
Poor marketing. And another thing is the owners locked out the players because the owners are greedy. They want more than the players, and they don't want to slice the pie. They don't want to cut a piece of the pie and give the players a slice of it. And to me, it's just greed. It's about power and ego, and that's why we're in the middle of a lockout. And it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. I mean, baseball is a beautiful sport. It was once known as America's pastime, and to see this happening, it's really, really sad and unfortunate for the game.
It is too. Like, this game's been around for over 150 plus years, and the fact, and I did make a video about this too, how the commissioner is not for the fans though, and we're seeing and I watched other baseball content creators kind of say, this is like the least marketed sport in all like the professional sports. Like, you're seeing the NHL get heavily marketed, the NFL, hell, even got fucking Major League Soccer getting heavily marketed. It's like and the fact that what also kind of annoys the crap out of me is like, if you're the commissioner of baseball, you call like the trophy who that has a lot of prestige and history to it a piece of metal. That's another thing that really kind of ruffles my feathers a little bit. And I just feel like it's just like, what are we doing right now? And I kind of agree with Jonathan too. It's just like this. It's just all about greed. It's like this is like it's I don't know at this point.
I mean, you got players that go out there, bust their asses every single day, for the people, and you got guys, you got owners and commissioners out there not caring and don't know nothing about the game of baseball and don't have no idea on how to run the game of baseball. But I mean, this could affect some of the players that's on that market right now. I don't know how much it will affect the guys like Carlos Correa because Freddie Freeman. They're superstar type players, and I think they're still going to get their money anywhere it goes. But it could definitely affect some of the pitchers that's still out there, some of the hitters that's not Carlos Correa's, that is not Freddie Freeman's and stuff like that. But we got commissioners and people that's running the baseball community don't know what the hell hasn't probably played a lick of baseball, only care about money. But these players go out there and bust their hard-earned money, and we pay as fans to watch our team go out there and compete. And it's just a shame, man, for these guys that don't care about the game of baseball. They don't care about the game of baseball and knows nothing about baseball to put a lockout in this off season.
Right. He's not fit to be commissioner of Major League Baseball. And I have my questions about the guy that's over the player association as well. Because I mean, it's on him too. He's just as blameful as the commissioner, because these two can't seem to come to some type of agreement to reach a new deal for a collective bargaining. I just can't believe it.
I mean, I can't believe it either. And that's the thing too. It's just like, you know, and I'll say this too. Like, I know people had like mixed reactions with Bud Selig when he was the commissioner. It's just like, the thing about, and the reason why I like Bud Selig, because he actually kept the tradition for the last 150 plus years, you know, despite, you know, people had mixed reactions. But I think if most baseball fans, we all had that one thing in common is we're, you know, kind of hating on Rob Manfred, and which is understandable to the certain extent. And then, like you said, Jonathan, the head of the Players Association is also at fault as well. And we're seeing it's just like and like Don said, it's a shame, you know, it's tarnishing the 150 plus years that this game has been around. It's just like, it's like really not, it's like, it's just, and the fact that it also affects the free agents, like, you know, Carlos Correa, Freddie Freeman, just to name a few. I mean, and it's just like, it makes you scratch your head. Like, what's the point? Like, are we really not going to have one season? But only time will tell, hopefully.
I just want to know, why the hell does it take a good player to come up to the major league so damn long? It's ridiculous what they got to go through. You got to go through AA. And then once you go there, then you got to move up to AAA. You still not in the majors yet. God knows how long it's going to take you. It's crazy.
It wastes your years for sure.
Because like the one guy that comes to mind is Pat Venditti. Because think about it this way, he'd make his debut till he was in his 30s. Like, you're seeing like these guys like who don't make their debuts until like most times they're not. They're in their early to mid 20s. But we're seeing some of these guys who are late 20s, early 30s, like Gurriel. You know, and he was considered a rookie at 30, 31, 32.
31 years old. 30. I think it was 32 years old.
32?
That's crazy. Like, I just feel like, you know, the MLB, like, you know, like y'all said, it's like Joe said, it should be marketed better, especially I love seeing the plays from baseball. When it's a good competitive game, I don't like the blowout so much, 12-2. Like, what are y'all not? Did y'all forget y'all had a game today? You're not.
It's just like, and that's,
like, I like to see the strikeouts, the double plays, the run and grab catches. Like, I like to see competitive baseball. You sitting them, and as a fan, you watching at home, it's just crickets. You turn the channel. So I just feel like, I don't know, does the rules need to change for it to make it better? Do we need to implement a DH on the National League side?
That was another thing I was going to talk about too. Is like, do you think and at the one time say, you know, obviously for the COVID season, like I was seeing the DH for most teams, they really took advantage of it, and it really does make a difference for those certain teams. Obviously, And Kate, that kind of goes into this one. How can the Phillies handle the universal DH if there's going to be one? I think they really need to take advantage of that DH, because the thing about it is just because as a pitcher myself, I hate seeing pitchers, just it's an easy out in the 9 spot. Like, I'd rather have something like the DH where, and I'll say this too, like, I feel like the American League, history by itself, despite they had the DH, which actually makes the baseball more competitive. I mean, we see guys like, oh God, just name a few. I mean, take Nelson Cruz, for example, probably one of the best DHs that we've seen. I know there's probably more in history, but I mean, just
Edgar Martinez, David Ortiz.
Yeah, like in that, like, people don't realize it's like, yeah, they may not play a certain position, but the DH really does make a difference in, and how competitive the game is, I mean, just to kind of just really put into it.
Key, there's something you said there about the most exciting plays in baseball that you love. And I totally agree with you. I actually think the triple is the most exciting play in the game of baseball, maybe in the game of sports, to seeing somebody stretch a double to a triple. There's a couple problems that Major League Baseball has had for really a couple generations now. Is we wanted to make the stadiums more fan friendly. Well, by fan friendly, we thought every seat has to have a view. Well, that's not very fun, because people complain about going to Fenway because some of the seats are so bad, yet they sell out every time, whether they're good or bad. There's this idea. If you think of the old stadiums, think of the old athletic stadium, think of the Polo Grounds in New York, 480 feet in center field, 465 in the gaps. Why aren't those stadiums being built? You know why? Because now we have superb athletes. What did we do in hockey? We shrunk the goalies' pads to make scoring more efficient. In football, we made offenses better. Nobody wants to see 13 strikeouts a game. But you know what they do want to see? They want to see guys hit the ball into deep left field, into a stadium that they're not sure if that ball is going to get out, where guys actually have to run the bases. I mean, we used to talk about if you were a 300 hitter, you were a little above average. Now guys are winning the batting title at what? 312? I mean, 312 is a bad Tony Gwynn season. Like, what are we talking about here? And it's the coaching, it's the fundamentals of baseball that just aren't being celebrated.
That's absolutely true. It's just like, because we're all in like this analytical age of baseball. And I remember too, I remember because I've already watched Tony Gwynn on the latter of his latter half of his career. It's just like nowadays, it's like we're seeing guy who because we were thought, maybe 300 is like nowadays, like they're saying it's like a good average, but it's like, yeah, I mean, at times it's like between and that's a very good point too. Like, I'm just seeing and that kind of applies to some stadiums too, in different and that's what applies to different states too. Take Coors Field, for example, up in the Denver altitude. It's really that's pretty much like a home run. That's pretty much a power hitter's dream.
Bank Park is a matchbox, and anything gets out of Citizens Bank Park if you hit it right.
Same thing as Minute Maid sense. Same thing as Minute Maid Park. If you hit it right.
Yeah, right in the Crawford boxes.
Crawford boxes. Then you got left field. The deepest part of the park is center field. You really got to have some pop to hit it to center field. You got to be like Aaron Judge. You got to be like guys like that, big strong guys to hit it out center field at Minute Maid Park. But anything else, it's an easy get out. It's pretty much an easy get out, man. So
and that's boring. If a guy like Ichiro Suzuki were come around now, people would laugh him out. They say, "Oh, the guy doesn't hit for power. He doesn't. Who cares that he gets 220 hits a year? What's his wins above replacement?" Sometimes we get so lost in the analytics that we just can't enjoy the game of baseball, and that's the other problem.
That's the big problem. Analytics. Yeah. I feel like front offices, managers, and players, they rely on analytics too much. And I feel like it's a pro and a con to it, and more than anything, I think it has destroyed the game, because when we were growing up, they didn't care about analytics. They didn't rely on analytics. You go with the player who's producing for you. You don't go by what the numbers tell you. And I feel like baseball has gotten away from what it used to be well known for, and now it's all about the numbers and these computers and what the player is doing statistically and not so much what he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good point as well, because like if you look back and going to Joe's thing about Ichiro, the thing is like we're seeing like some like the fact that I mean the fact that this guy at times can pop like maybe one or two a year, but the fact that he was the hit leader for the last like handful of years for the Mariners, but you would think like for a guy of Ichiro's size and what he can, and like the back control that he has is just unbelievable, and the fact that he plays like a softball player, like am I not wrong? The way that he goes about it, and the arm. I mean, he's like for a guy as small as he was, but I mean he had an arm. Like it's just like
yeah.
it's
I mean,
I always used to think of
the guy has some crazy power too. Everybody think Ichiro didn't have no power, man. The man hit by 20 home runs a season on you, and he was a great contact hitter. He was pretty much all around balanced. Ichiro was pretty much all around balanced. The guy, since he stepped foot in the MLB leagues, the guy was racking up hits and home runs. So people don't give him a lot of credit for his pop. He had power in his bat too.
To me,
Ichiro was more known for his defense. That's why.
Yeah.
And his ability to throw the ball. That's why he was in. That's why he was in right field every day, because of his ability to nail down the runner at home plate. I mean, if you ever seen someone throw the ball better than him, tell me, because I don't know who it is. I think Ichiro has had the best arm as far as throwing the ball and getting it home.
The best way I ever heard somebody describe Ichiro was a golfer with no problems, because he could hit it from anywhere on the course. He could play in the wind. He could play in the rain. He could play, a links course. He could do whatever, because if he had to hit for power, like Dante said, the guy, go read stories about him. The guy in batting practice, they tried to convince him to get in the home run derby because he was so good. I mean, he could hit for average. He could hit for contact. He could put it anywhere on the field. He was literally a golfer. That's what he was.
Yes, and the Mariners over the years have had great players, particularly on the offensive side. They have had so many amazing players. They just couldn't put it together in the pitching department, and that's why they've never won a World Series, unfortunately.
I don't want to talk about it.
Hey, look, man, me and Key share kind of the pain as well as Phillies fans, but that kind of goes into another one with Seiya Suzuki getting posted from the MPB. There's a few teams that I would, that I saw like what are some potential fits where they could use Seiya Suzuki coming from Japan.
Man, there's something about them Japan players, man. I don't know what they do differently over here than us Americans, but they are ridiculous.
And the way that I see it, like if he's because I've watched
another one.
Otani's on a different planet. You can't even mention him in the same class.
No, because I think the only class you can put him up there is Babe Ruth. So that's the only place you can put him.
To Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth was a two-way player. It's still too early to tell, but I think with his mechanics, with his knowledge for the game, and with his ability to swing the bat and also throw his fastballs like no one other, I think he's on his way. He's definitely on pace to possibly surpassing Babe Ruth. I know that's a lot, but I mean,
I definitely 1000% agree with you, man. I mean, you're dominant. It's one thing to be dominant at the plate, but you're dominant on the mound as well. You're not just dominating at the plate. You're just dominating on the mound as well, man. And again, this guy's on a different level. So the guy can't even shine that man's shoes right now. He can't even pack his luggage right now. That man is just on a different. I mean, Otani just on a different level, man. You're dominant in both, and it's not easy to be dominant at the plate and at the pitching mound. That's not easy. That shows how good.
Dante, not to mention too. This is also in the American League too. Like people don't realize like it's like the American League. It's either one or the other. Where it compares to the National League, it's possible. And then I mean we're seeing it. I mean Otani it's just a whole different breed of a player. And with these Japanese players, like if you watch some of the high school, and what's crazy is too, like their high school games are like these sell out packed out stadiums over in Japan, and and I've watched some how they practice. Like they're so fundamentally sound compared to what here in the United States. It's like, my gosh, it really is just making this look bad.
And the crazy thing is that he has endured so many injuries that he's overcome those injuries and has still exceeded the otherworldly. It's just amazing.
I mean, this also talks to something that Key talked about. Like, what are they doing over in Japan? Well, the reason is because, number one, baseball is their job. Like, that's how they're going to provide. That's what they do. They don't have outside stuff. That's literally their job, is to get good at baseball. Like you said, Robert, I mean, you see their practices and stuff. It is a well-oiled machine. We in the U.S. worry so much about specialization of taking these 12, 13, 14-year-old arms and saying, okay, now we're going to teach you how to throw a slider. Oh, it's okay if you get Tommy John at 17. It's actually going to make your arm stronger. That's not the way it goes. And right now, the only way I can think of Ohtani, I think Babe Ruth is actually an unfair comparison. Is now he's Nolan Ryan mixed with Hank Aaron. He hits like Aaron because he hits power, and he also, is a good average hitter. Aaron had over a 300 career average, I believe, or at least for quite a few years. And Ryan was just power. And I mean, I know Ohtani has more than that, but he's just dominant when he gets out there on the mound, kind of like how Nolan Ryan was. But to speak to, you were talking about the player coming over. I mean, Seattle's always a team you have to worry about because they have such a big fan base overseas in Asia, Japan, Korea, things of that sort. So they're always a team to worry about. Historically, some other teams, the Red Sox, of course, the Yankees, Hideki
Matsui. Who was there was Tanaka too.
Tanaka.
I completely forgot about Tanaka.
You guys hear me?
Nomo, whatever the hell.
They missed.
Oh my God, Hideo Nomo.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, I remember him.
And it's just like another guy. Like you said, I mean, we named a few. Like Nomo, I mean, he brought the hype with him in the 90s. Being the Japanese. Coming from Japan over to probably the Dodgers, who at the time, I think, not if I'm not mistaken, I mean, they had a great pitching staff that in the 90s. Because he had, I know the only one guy that comes to mind is Valenzuela. That's the only one. That's the only Dodger that comes to mind from the 90s. But Tanaka, Matsui, and we're seeing Ohtani. And honestly, man, I kind of do like the comparison though. Like, I mean. And I think the only difference is, like, I don't think Hank Aaron had speed, if I'm not mistaken, because I know Ohtani has that base running, that's, the stealing bags capability. Which another thing too, that's become like a lost art in baseball.
I mean, just think about if the Angels. I mean, this team can really actually be scary. If Mike Trout, the LeBron James of baseball, stays healthy. Don't you know how scary this Angels team could be? When Ohtani is great on the pitching mount and at the batting as well, stealing bases, impacting the game so many ways. Just think about how good this baseball team could be. You had a LeBron James of baseball and Mike Trout playing baseball, and him being a part of a playoff picture for goddamn once. It's just the Angels just don't have a damn pitching staff. They just cannot.
I mean, other than that, I mean,
that's what has doomed them for years is the fact that they don't have a solid pitching staff, let alone a bullpen. They don't have the quality arms in a bullpen either. I live in Southern California, and Angel fans will be the first to tell you that it's very frustrating to see that you have two superstars on the same team.
And you just waste them away.
And you have Ohtani, and you're wasting their primes because you don't build around them. And part of the reason is because Artie Moreno is so cheap that he refuses to put the talent around this team. I mean, they did bring in Anthony Rendon, but he can't pitch for you, and then he battled some health issues too once he got over here. But the Angels need to focus more on addressing their needs in the bullpen and the pitching staff. If they don't, then Mike Trout and Ohtani are just going to be putting on a home run display with nothing to show for it.
And that kind of ties into they also did pick up Syndergaard on a 1-year, $21 million deal, and they did retain Raisel Iglesias, which is a decent start.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's like you got to keep going, got to keep. But obviously, with the lockout, but it's like it's just us and the Angels. Like us and the Angels, we're kind of in that same boat. But with a little twist, the only thing difference that separates between us as from the Phillies and the Angels, like we're lacking the outfield depth at times. Obviously bullpens and starting pitching is kind of our biggest need and key.
It's the bullpen. We think. Oh, the bullpen.
Now, you guys have good quality pitching in the starting rotation. I think.
Yeah, it's the bullpen.
I think the problem is that they can't stay healthy. Yeah, that's the issue. Is that they can't stay healthy. If you can keep those guys healthy, I mean that starting rotation could be legit.
I'm going to assume the Phillies have a better batting lineup than the Angels. Besides Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, who else you could be scared of in the batting lineup? And I got respect for Syndergaard. I don't know if he's going to be the same. But that would not be enough to beat the Houston Astros or the
or any other team
or the Oakland A's
or even
the Mariners, who's very good, and the Rangers are very good as well.
Oh, that's another thing too.
I mean, they didn't really address their needs in the starting rotation either. So I don't know.
No, I'm just talking about batting. As far as batting, the pitching stink. Their best pitcher last year was the guy that I think the Phillies got, Gibson. That was their best pitcher last year.
Oh, Gibson,
yes. He was there. He was the Rangers' best pitcher last year. He was an Astros killer. So again, if the Angels buffing up their pitching staff and you got two superstars, that would be enough to be competitive at least.
At least competitive, but I mean, and that's the thing too. It's just like if you think about it this way, the Angels haven't seen postseason baseball since the early 2002, since their World Series run. Is, if I'm not mistaken, that's the last time that they've been in the postseason.
No, they seen it in 2014 when they lost in the first round to the Kansas City Royals.
Okay.
That was Mike Trout's only playoff appearance.
That is another thing too. It's like you're wasting someone like a homegrown talent and Sal Jersey native.
Just bring him to Philly already. Try to cut him out that deal. Just bring him on home, even though he's not from Philly.
I did not know that. I did not know that man been to the playoffs.
Yes, he's a Philadelphia Eagle ticket holder.
Oh my god,
with the Eagles. So it's just like it's only right for him to play here.
Because it's like I feel like they did. I mean, I'm not saying they did overpay for Trout, but they're not doing nothing that really help him and Ohtani. Because it's like you got two generational talents and you're screwing their prime away.
They helped them buy a Newport mansion. That's about it.
That's
no championship rings. That's for sure.
I mean, since we kind of were before the show, we did talk about the Hall of Fame. I do want to read off this year's Hall of Fame.
I think, Joe wanted to say something.
I wanted to reference something you talked about, Robert, because my comparison of Nolan Ryan and Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron has 240 career steals and was only the third player in Major League Baseball history to have a 30-30 season. So while he wasn't, the elite of base running, he was still a guy, especially in his younger years, that was able to really make a difference on the base pass. So while my comparison might not be perfect, I think it's at least passable.
I mean, could you also think too, like
if the game, my bad, Robert. Can you imagine if the game was played like the movies, like Major League?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Everybody will watch baseball. The Wild Thing and
A League of Their Own
baseball movies, but I'm just like they make baseball fun. It's just like then you look at it.
I think another movie that actually really put the baseball on the map was the Field of Dreams, and that's another thing too. Is like they gotta keep, and not that if I'm mistaken, man, that was I think the most that has a good amount of viewership. It's like you gotta be more, at least keep that, because like you're having these guys, play that. I know it's not the same. I mean, it's still in the same place, but I know it's on a, obviously they built a stadium for it, but you're playing at probably one of most people's favorite, baseball moves, Field of Dreams. It's like you got to capitalize on that a lot more. And
I actually hated that. I hated that. I thought it was too kitschy. I thought it was too drive-by casual fan. I just didn't like it. I actually have a better idea before. I don't want to take too much time because I know we want to get into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, shoot.
The idea that I have is finally Major League Baseball this past off season decided to include Negro League records into the Major League Baseball.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So Pittsburgh does a really good job because if you know anything about history, they had the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Now, what they do, a lot of teams, is they wear the old Negro League uniforms. What I would like to see happen is there are multiple cities, Kansas City Monarchs, all across the country, of major cities, where I would like to see the players wear the old Negro League uniforms, have a portion of that money go to charity and with the Negro League Baseball Museum.
Yeah, so pretty much, support the Negro Leagues.
Absolutely. But it's also a way, because if you go look at those uniforms, guess what? They're incredible. They are so amazing. They were so great. And like to see those available in team stores, to see those available online, like there's so much you could do. Again, this is the frustrating thing about baseball. It's a game that has evolved in so many different ways, but is stuck in the past.
Absolutely. It's just like because I know like you said, you did mention the Crawfords, you mentioned the Grays, the Monarchs. I'm trying to think. I forgot what our team was, our Negro League team was here in Philadelphia. I can't remember the name. I know we had a Negro League team here in Philly, but
like there were a lot of different teams throughout, and a lot of teams folded, because financials and things of that sort. But I mean, some of the teams were just again like incredible in the history. Excuse me. It's just it'd be really nice for a way to for baseball to acknowledge that, especially if you're going to put the stats in the Hall of Fame, like to bring more foresight to it. Because again, like I love Throwback Jersey Day. I love stuff like that. It's great. And then to incorporate that also, it would just be, it would be amazing.
And that's sort of thing too. It's like with these throwback ones, like you see, like at times, like let's say take the Oakland A's, like when they bring out their what was the lime green from the 70s, because that was like when they bring those out, and every time Phillies will bring out the.
Yeah, I like our throwbacks. The blue, the light blue,
the baby blue.
Maroon. Yeah,
and that's another thing too. That's become it's just like and at times we had the maroon, which and honestly that's probably one of the most ugliest uniforms that I've seen in the Phillies history. I think baby blue, in my honest opinion, is probably one of the better looking when you put on a uniform. But I mean, I know other teams are doing that. The Blue Jays. I mean, some of these other ones, the Texas Rangers, it's just like the fact that, Major League Baseball has, finally acknowledged the Negro Leagues. And, the thing about this too, like baseball wouldn't be what it is today without Jackie Robinson not coming from the Negro Leagues. Like people don't realize, if you've not seen the movie 42, which if you have not seen it, you are missing out. And I'll say this: they did a good job depicting how Philly was. Oh boy, oh my Lord! But obviously, each the kind of like tradition, like obviously with the Hall of Fame coming up, if you have guys not been to Cooperstown, I highly recommend you do, because that's a once in a lifetime trip. Now they did release the 2022 ballot, and there's some like debut names on here. Obviously, to start off, we got Bobby Abreu, Barry Bonds, who was on his last year. Mark Burley's on his first year. You got Roger Clemens last year on the ballot. Carl Crawford, Prince Fielder, Todd Helton, Ryan Howard, Tim Hudson, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent, Tim Lincecum, Justin Morneau, Joe Nathan, David Ortiz, Jonathan Papelbon. Oh my God, I can't believe he's on. Oh my God!
Papelbon is on the list.
He is on the Hall of Fame ballot.
He should not be on the Hall of Fame ballot. I don't even know how to.
I don't know how to
answer that one.
I got a case for my three already. I think obviously I don't know if they're gonna put these guys in because it's no way these guys should be held out that long. Who doesn't cheat in the game of baseball? I mean, goddamn. I don't understand. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and I got a lot of respect for Todd Helton.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot more to go along with this list.
That was very good first baseman. He was a great defensive first baseman, and he was a great hitter. That man, it was 1 year. His batting average was 346 at the end of the year. I really love Todd Helton, but I'm not saying they're gonna put Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens because we all know why they was held out for so long. But I wanted to kind of throw them in there. But if they don't get put in, hey, I mean, this is their last year, so I wanted to see them in the Hall of Fame. But again,
that's for certain.
Even at the age of 40, Roger Clemens was dominant with the Astros. He was dominant. He had that great World Series run with the Houston Astros. And Barry Bonds just threw the cover off the baseball. You got literally guys was scared to pitch to this guy and just walk him every time they get a chance. The only way you couldn't walk him if the bases were loaded. That's the only way you couldn't really walk him. But if he was leading off in the inning, you walked him. Nope. You would not hit a home run on me. I would not give you a chance. You could even walk him with 2 men on base. They don't give it down.
And just load the bases basically.
It's not beating me. So I didn't want to throw them 3 out there. And Todd Helton, I really like that guy's a hitter. As a defensive first baseman, Todd Helton did it all.
To really go along with that, they added Jake Peavy, Andy Pettit, AJ Prasinsky's on the ballot, Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, Scott Rowland, Jimmy Rollins, Kurt Schilling on his last year, Gary Sheffield, Sammy Sosa on his last year, Mark Teixeira, Omar Vizquel, and then Billy Wagner to really finish off the 2020.
Omar Vizquel not in the Hall of Fame?
My 3 I could probably make a case for. I mean, like you said, Todd Helton's probably the ones that I can make a case for is Helton, David Ortiz. I guess you could say something for Billy Wagner. Probably, pretty. I mean, you could probably make a case, but I think Ortiz, man, you if you're not
phantom some of these Hall of Fame
for real
names.
When I saw Pal once, are you shitting me?
I can't. Omar Vizquel was probably one of the greatest shortstops you probably ever seen, man. And he's not in the Hall of Fame.
That's disrespect. That's
and that's another thing too. Another disrespect is Dick Allen falling short again from the Golden. Oh God, what's the Golden Days? Oh God,
just like Larry Walker getting in. I mean.
At times it's and I did make a video about this too. It's I think us fans we should have the choice to vote because the writers don't know jack shit about the game of baseball. Unlike all of us, we've seen it. Most of us played it.
Hey! I'm a writer, and even I know better.
That's used to be in the baseball commissioner. God damn!
Oh my God! The fact that Rollins and Howard got this, there's no way they're going to get in because their careers were kind of a little bit short. Maybe Andrew Jones. You
definitely can say they may not get in now, but I still think their numbers don't lie for both Ryan and Jimmy to get in at some point. They both won the World Series. They both Gold Glovers. Ryan Howard won MVP and Rookie of the Year. Same thing for Jimmy. I think they have they can get in there, but will they get in? I think they're worthy to get in, but just
the question is, can they get in? Which as remains to be seen. But I feel I think Prince Fielder, I don't really know because his career kind of lasted too short. He only spent many different years with 3 different teams, but as much as would like to say it because also the funny moments like him tripping, when he runs around, run around the bases and get sniped. It's just maybe that's tough though. It's just I feel like the ones that as much as I want to, I do like Barry Bonds though, despite the era. If I'm not mistaken, too, Dante, I remember Dante. I think you referenced Buck Showalter. I think it was with the Arizona Diamondbacks, if I'm not that year, if I'm not mistaken. Because I know this is it's just like
Baltimore. You talking about Buck Showalter, Baltimore Orioles?
No, this was when he played against the Diamondbacks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like that can remind. It just all of a sudden just popped in my head. It's like.
Keep in mind, too, guys, about this with Barry Bonds. A lot of the writers hold a grudge against him. They have like a personal vendetta against him.
I believe that.
Because of the disrespect. Just from what you heard from writers over the years, they said that he would cuss them out. You know, he would insult them in the clubhouse. And I think after all those years, the writers still haven't forgotten. And now they're using that against him.
Barry Bonds never met a journalist he couldn't find a reason to hate. I mean, that's just part of it. And part of the reason is because he felt that he was not given the same sort of credit pass that Sosa and McGuire were given.
It's just, and yeah, that's a very good point because and it's that too. Like when he was hired as a coaching staff, and the Marlins coaching staff didn't like him either. Like there's something about. I just feel like that. I think after he took roids, like there's like he still had that some like roid rage that, I mean, we've seen it from the Miami Marlins firing him as their hitting coach. It's just like there's some, and that's and I didn't really notice that until you said something about it.
And Barry Bonds admittedly said he used steroids because he was jealous of Mark McGuire, and turns out Mark McGuire used them too.
Because you had McGuire, Sosa, Bonds. And that's the thing to me.
And then you got the guy that said he took Flintstone vitamins, Sammy Sosa.
Oh my God, I remember he saying that.
Looking like Napoleon ice cream now, man. Crazy. I can't believe what he's done to him.
It actually goes back to Canseco. Remember, the Bash Brothers in the late 80s were really the first remnants of this. I mean, Jose Canseco is the godfather of the steroid era of the late 20th century. And I mean, his book, whatever you want to believe, if 60% of it is true, it's a black eye on the sport of baseball. It's really frustrating because these players that we're debating right now, 2/3 of them we assume were on steroids. 1/3 of them we know were on steroids. Ortiz was in the Mitchell report. Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds.
Eddie Pettit is another guy that's been kind of was listed in there.
Yeah.
And I just kind of feel as much as, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like Roger Clemens.
Yeah, he was taking them with Roger Clemens, I think, because they were buddies, And
I feel like just what Jonathan brung up, the reason because writers and people did not like Barry Bonds, and he was not a great locker room guy. Him and Jeff Kent got into it multiple times. And that reminds me of how much Terrell Owens been hold out the whole Hall of Fame as well. He's got criticized for his off the field issues, not his play on the field, his off the field issues. So again, I don't think they should start bringing I mean, I understand they want to bring the locker room stuff inside, but the play on the field, it shouldn't negate how good the player was. It shouldn't negate that. And that's one thing I don't understand. Why they negate the play on the field. Whatever went on in the locker room, I mean, that's the locker room, but you can't fault how good of a player was on the field and on the court.
That's the same way I felt with Reggie Bush Heisman. I know this is a baseball show, but you brought up a good point, Dante. That's true. That's
Dante,
fact.
I think a fair comparison, if you want to do this, and I'm going to give you my three here real quick, is Terrell Owens was held to a different standard than Brett Favre, who also had his off-the-field issues. He had a painkiller addiction. We find out later about his, sending messages to people. He was kind of a rough, kind of standoffish guy at times, but he played with a passion on the field that people respected that they didn't respect with T.O. With that in mind, I'm going to give you my three. The three that I think should go in, I'm going to give you two players who have already been on the ballot and then a first-year player. Jeff Kent. Like you said, maybe the most feared second baseman in all of baseball during the 90s with Barry Bonds on those San Francisco teams. Also, giant dickwad. People did not like Jeff Kent, and Jeff Kent did not like these people. I'm going to put him in with his teammate Barry Bonds.
Again, he was good with the Astros, too. He was great with the Astros. I think his career
plays out differently if not for steroids. But I'm okay with that. I still put him in.
And that's another thing too with Jeff Kent too. Like
the third person who'd be my first ballot this year, as much as he crushed my soul in Seattle, it's Alex Rodriguez.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was for one, I was against putting all these guys in for that steroid scandal, but now I changed my mind. I mean, because I guess most of the league did use steroids, so
yeah, that's very
Everybody
true.
cheated. Everybody cheated, though.
Yeah, you can't.
Once that list came out, it was a wrap.
But you know what though, Barry Bonds was very arrogant to me, and a lot of people say, well, I dislike him because he was good at what he did. No, I respect him as a. I guess you could say I respect him for what he did as a player, but as a individual, it's hard for me to respect him because the way he came off as very arrogant and cocky.
I'm the same way about Kobe. I'm the same way about Kobe. I don't like Kobe. He's very arrogant, but his play, I love it.
Right. And I never liked Barry Bonds. Even when I was a kid, when he was in Pittsburgh, when he was skinny, I didn't care for him because I just picked up bad vibes from him, and it's always been his attitude. And even when he got busted, he didn't really show humility. He was very arrogant about it and defiant. You know?
Oh yeah, and he's like he kept lying about it too. Like people don't realize he lied under oath when he got brought into court. Like people don't forget that. That's a lot of things. He
had a true friend by his side who sat in jail for him.
It's ridiculous. I think Dave has seen that. Look, I know Dave Artusi was listed in the report, but I just kind of feel like, I mean, he was part of that era, but I just don't feel like. I mean, I think it's good to see, someone like Ortiz, probably other than Edgar Martinez, probably one of the best DHs, especially when it comes to I mean, we've seen him win a couple World Series rings. It's just like the one that doesn't, obviously we all know the one that does not belong is fucking Jonathan Papelbon. How the fuck does he get on the Oh my God. Oh God.
I don't know. I don't know how he's even.
Who put him in there?
Crazy.
Because I feel like other than him, I mean, you got some decent names that actually kind of deserve to get in.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't.
Papelbon gonna be in that list for a while.
Oh God.
Yeah, that one. My guy though, growing up, my childhood idol was Ken Griffey Jr. That was my guy right there. I love.
I think that was mostly everybody's because he always had that sweet
he
swing.
Was my favorite player, and if injuries didn't derail his career, he would have shattered that home run record. And we would be having conversations about him being the greatest home run king ever.
That's
he
true.
had the purest swing, and he had the most beautiful swing too.
Yeah, like people also imitated with the hat on backwards. But
yep.
I mean, you can't really. It's just like, I mean, decent names though. It's just like, question is, because I know 2015, if I'm remembering serves right, we only had 5 guys going in. Which is I think that's the first time I've seen more than one person going into the Hall of Fame. The question is, I know, like you said, Bonds too. I mean, even after his playing days, he had the way I can describe it. Like he has like a douchebag kind of vibe. The way he's coming about it because it's like I'm trying to think.
He was like that though before he got caught using steroids. He was like that when he came into Major League Baseball. He already had that personality about him.
I don't see. I know. I mean, Papelbon obviously doesn't belong.
No, he doesn't. I don't even know how he's on that list. That's crazy.
I guess you can make an argument for Jake Peavy. I mean, he was a good pitcher in his own right. I mean,
Manny Ramirez is another one.
Who?
Manny Ramirez.
Does he belong or does he?
No, I'm just saying he belongs. I mean, not saying he don't belong.
Definitely.
I mean,
yeah.
You can't just Scott.
Manny Ramirez just got carried away with his antics.
Oh yeah,
That was his problem.
I think I'm surprised Omar Vizquel never got
Man, that dude, come on. That is,
That's
oh my
so disrespectful to me because
Yeah.
I watched Omar Vizquel's career and he was an incredible shortstop. We can have a conversation about him possibly being the best to ever play at that position because he was amazing. And how he's left off a Hall of Fame ballot is just hard to believe to me. I
mean, it's so disrespectful. Torrey Hunter, I can make a case for Torrey Hunter.
Yeah,
as well. Scott Rowland, Andrew Jones. Scott Rowland was very a good third baseman, power with the glove as well.
I mean, at times, like later in his career, he kind of start. I mean, even this back half of his career, he started to decline. I mean, but despite he declined his back half of his career, but he still kind of produced as much as he could. Because I know at the time, because what was like somewhere in his 30s by the time he was done.
Some of these guys get in super late too.
Because I remember, because like we're seeing like, and that kind of goes to the thing too. It's like we also got to think too, like the Hall of Fame. Yeah, despite you have the ballot, but you also got you got the two committees that also can vote you in as well. I mean, so there's other ways you can probably get in. And that's the thing too. Is like, do you? I mean, just seeing Pablo Bonds' name, it's like I shake my head as a failure to me because I was like, what the absolute fuck.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the perplexing one.
Like that sticks out like a sore thumb because like you can make a case for Todd Helton. Definitely you can. I think you can make an argument for Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones. Probably in my recent memory, they probably one of the greatest defensive center outfielders that I've seen play. Despite, obviously it was in a Braves uniform, but
Andrew Jones used to kill us with the freaking praise all the damn time, man.
Yeah, I remember.
And Torrey Hunter, man, he used to put his body on the line. I mean, he was like to the wall for a baseball.
Yeah, think about how many home runs this guy robbed. This guy was the home run robbing king, bro.
Remember, 2013 against the Detroit Tigers went over the outfield wall into the bullpen. Like Dante said, you don't guys like that don't come around and.
Oh yeah, and he used strategy on you too, Torrey Hunter. He was able to because they used to play in that Metrodome and they used to have the white ceiling. And
sometimes yeah,
like he would pretend like he would lose the ball, and before you know it, Torrey Hunter would make the catch and throw somebody out because they honestly felt he had the ball in his glove.
It's just like. I don't know, man.
Still ain't get in. How many years it's been?
Gary Sheffield?
Yeah.
That's disrespectful too.
Like the most unorthodox batting stance he's had. Like, I mean, Pablo obviously doesn't belong. I don't think AJ Brzezinski. I don't know if you can make a case for him.
Tim Lincecum was another one. He was a good. Tim Lincecum was a very good pitcher with the
Giants.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I'm like Joe Nathan. I'm surprised he is on the list. Same with Justin Morneau. Like, because I feel like just like Carl Crawford's another surprising one. Like, I don't know if you can make it. I mean, you could possibly make a case, but I'm not entirely too sure about Carl Crawford. But
I mean, he was one of the best base stealers, I guess. But I don't see that one either.
But yeah, I mean, kind of really want to go over a few more because we're kind of want to wrap up. I saw a rumor that Sonny Gray is still available on the market despite with the lockout still going. Where do you think he might wind up when the lockout's set and done? Sonny Gray.
It's a plethora of teams that can need a pitcher.
Right.
Texas Rangers. The Yankees can use another pitcher. Their pitchers. The Angels. I mean, after Garrett Cole, Samarino can't stay healthy. So you don't got nobody else in the row. That's.
I mean, the only guy you can think of is Domingo Germán. I mean,
that's pretty much it, and he's inconsistent. The Angels need a good pitch. They need a pitcher. Texas Rangers need a pitcher. It's a lot of teams that kind of need a pitcher. I think the Oakland A's could use one.
Yeah, he can use a pitch there too.
Yep,
so
Why not bring him back home?
Yep. And Sonny Gray can also be used by the Phillies too. Sonny Gray can be used by the Phillies too as well.
Oh, he could be used in a number of places with a number of
places that need pitching.
I mean, he already had his time with the Yankees, but that was not a good time with him when he was in the Yankees uniform.
And you can always add him to a 1-year deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like at least a 1 year, 2 year like vet minimum.
Yeah,
and look, I mean, don't get me wrong though. I mean, he was going to the Reds though. I mean, he actually pitched pretty well for the Reds. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Reds retained him. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Kind of go to this, last one.
Where do you see Nick Castellanos going?
I would love him for the
yes, sir.
Hey, if you want to win, come to the Houston Astros. We want to win.
Dodgers, man. The Dodgers will have the Dodgers. It wouldn't make sense because he's an outfielder, and it would make
they got a lot of outfielders out there with the Dodgers.
It would make their outfield crowded. But my co-host last week on our new show, Jake Book, he brought up a good point. He said you could play Nick at third base.
Oh, that's right. I remember he used to play the infield too at times.
He plays infield.
I forgot about that. He's a utility guy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. That's a very good thing to bring up too. Is it's like, and I know this is kind of like a little bit minute. How about Yasiel Puig signing with the Kiwoom Heroes in the KBO for 1 year?
I heard about that.
I guess he's better overseas than in the majors.
I mean, look, another guy you can think of is Eric Thames. Like when he came from the KBO back to the major leagues, and we like there's something about the KBO that it just really kind of helps you like feel like you I remember Eric Thames when he spent his time with the Mariners, and to that like he kind of feel like just kind of disappeared after a while, and then I was watching the KBO at 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's like, but with the NC Dinos, it's like. There's no way that's Eric Thames, but who knows, man? Regardless of this, actually, there's another thing too. Where do you think Freddie Freeman will wind up?
I think he stays with the Braves. He
stays with Atlanta.
Yeah, I think he stays in Atlanta. I mean, he got a World Series, and what better way to stay with the Atlanta Braves, man? I can't see Freddie Freeman going anywhere else.
I'll be very, very shocked if he signs with another team.
Because I did make a video about this, and I said maybe if the Dodgers make the right, I'm gonna say the Dodgers because it's like their first base is not strong. I mean, Pujols is on his last legs. Muncy, maybe you can make it something for him, but I think he's more like a utility guy. But when you need like a true first baseman, I think the Dodgers. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'd be shocked. Like John said, man. But then again, like
you never know.
But then again, he's also looking for a 6-year, $180 million deal. And I think the one team I can feel like can really give him that is probably the Dodgers. Like they're known to spend a lot of money. So I feel the Dodgers is kind of I feel like it's my dark horse pick to snatch Freddie Freeman off the free agent market when this is all said and done.
Keep in mind, he's an Orange County native. He grew up an Angel fan, but he'll be back in Southern California either way if he does sign with the Dodgers.
In another scenario, if you look at it, I wouldn't be surprised if Freddie Freeman leaves. But Anthony Rizzo is a free agent for the New York Yankees. If the New York Yankees,
I forgot about Anthony Rizzo.
I think Freddie Freeman will be a good option. A contact hitter, you do get a contact hitter in the lineup. Something that the Yankees don't got a lot of contact hitting in the lineup. They got a lot of strikeout prone batters. You can look. Freddie Freeman can be an option in New York if they don't feel well. If they don't feel well about if they let Anthony Rizzo walk. But I expect Freddie Freeman to re-sign back with the Braves, man. I definitely do.
I do too. I expect him to re-sign with the Braves once this lockout and this whole debacle is
whenever it happens. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Now my question is: do you think you can make a case for him for being in the Hall of Fame?
Still a little too early.
Too early?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's something there you could probably make a case for, but I think Who knows, man?
By the time Freddie Freeman retires, I believe you're gonna be able to make a case for him. By the time he retires,
that's
you can make a case for him.
Like him, and that's the thing too. It's just like like him and you can't really like him. I mean, you got to think too. Him and Anthony Rizzo are pretty much like you could pretty much write a comedy skit between those two. When freaking Anthony Rizzo struck him when the Cubs were getting. I think this is and that's the thing too. And like actually, now kind of Jonathan, I don't know if I ever because my thing is like, what are your thoughts about Javi Baez going to the Detroit Tigers for 6 years on a 6-year deal?
Well, the Detroit Tigers they needed a superstar, right? They needed some. They needed.
I know the shortstop's not as strong.
To be honest, that signing is big because I think Detroit got something up their sleeves too. I think they got another big move that's gonna come. I think they got another big move that's really gonna come. But that's a great start. They need a superstar in their lineup.
And plus,
their pitching was pretty competitive after the All-Star break, but they do need a couple of superstar bats, and I think they got something. I think they got something in the works for another bat to come in there too. With AJ Hinch, the former Astros manager, a World Series manager, I think he's got something cooked up. I think they got something going on in Detroit.
And not to mention too,
I was a little surprised though because I thought maybe
he would some of the Mets though. That was the thing.
No, I thought maybe Carlos Correa would have went to the
team. That was everybody was first thought.
Yeah. That's what I was looking at. I was thinking that's the bat they were gonna land right there, but I still think they got something. Now it's multiple things. Carlos Correa might end up with the Cubs, or we never. I mean, it's a lot of people that's gonna try to jump on the Correa, and he's gonna get paid. It's a lot of teams that's interesting, but I thought that was gonna be the move. You get Baez, now you get Carlos Correa, who's familiar with AJ Hinch, and hey, you got a pretty rebuild a baseball team right there.
And with Javi Baez, you put him at third, you also put him at second base too. Like he's so versatile, which is very any team would love to have. Plus, you got to think too, like Detroit has a good farm system. Like you got brought up Casey Mize, you got Spencer Turnbull, Tarek Schoolball, who has been very solid for them. Now you got Spencer Torkelson up, who's probably one of the best draft picks that I remember. From I mean, it's just like you. Plus, I mean, we got a future Hall of Famer, Miguel Cabrera, which can really, I think this coming season, I think Detroit is going to be very competitive in that division. I think the only team that I feel is going to give them problems is probably the White Sox. That's the only team I think that's going to probably win the division. I think at best, right now, I can say is Detroit. If Detroit wanted to take a playoff spot, I think it's by a wild card spot. That's just kind of how I see Detroit. Because like Dante said, there is that one big move that's going to really kind of push them over the edge a little bit. But I mean, who knows? With the time will tell with this lockout. One more topic we're going to talk about is Boston. They are exercising Core's 2023-2024 option. So, what are your guys' thoughts about that?
I mean, Cora is another guy that was on that Astros 2017 roster that pretty much that won the World Series. He's a good manager, and I want they kind of interrupt. I mean, when they exercising this option, that means you may thinking about moving on from him. But again, you don't have the pitching staff to compete. I mean, you have the batting lineup to compete in the American League East. You just don't have the pitching staff to compete to go to the World Series, to do enough to go to the World Series. You just don't have it to beat. You beat the Rays, but you just don't do enough to beat the Astros or any other foe. I think that's the only thing that's holding them back. It's their pitching staff. Outside, you don't really have a pitcher that's consistent. Really, Chris Sale's always hurt. Pavetta was inconsistent this year. So other than that, you've seen them get beat up by the Houston Astros because none of those guys can at least go 5 innings. The Boston Red Sox need pitching. That's what they need. They got the bats. They just need pitching, man, and that's gonna kind of hurt, man. And I feel bad for a lot of scores.
Yeah, to really add to that too, like yeah, I think the Rays are like the one team to beat in the AL East. I mean, Yankees, they got a decent pitching staff, but I think the Tampa Bay Rays kind of outbeat that entire division because they're well built all around. Except like we kind of talked about before, like they're like John said, like the Rays are such a versatile team. Like you put like like different players who are also some utility guys like in different spots, like which helps in the long run. And one more I want to talk about is who do you think is going to be the manager of the New York Mets? Because the one name, and I kind of talked about this too on my previous show, is about Buck Showalter. His name's been kind of thrown around with the New York Mets. So I want you guys' thoughts on that.
Billy Valentine, and then he's gonna put on a mustache.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Remember that?
No, I'm joking. But in all seriousness, I would like to see Buck Showalter manage again. I think he has a great understanding for baseball. He's a great analyst on TV. I love to listen to him on the MLB Network, and he's been around a long time, and he's managed enough teams to know what's up. So I like him to fill that managerial role. I think he'll do a great job with the New York Mets. And hey, he must be the right guy for the job because Mad Max, he already kind of lobbied for him. He wants him as the manager. So I mean, hey, keep your new star happy and make that move.
That's very true. And John, this is something I want to ask you. Do you think the Mets overpaid for Max Scherzer? Was that an overpay?
Absolutely, I think so. But I think they have this attitude, well, we needed a strong arm in our rotation. So why not pay Max? And, and he's someone that can take on our former team 19 times a season, against the Nationals.
And that too. And I've been looking at this too. It's just like, you have DeGrom, probably one of the greatest pitchers of all time. But the problem is like their rotation sometimes cannot stay healthy. And that's going to be what's going to bite him in the ass throughout this entire season. Because look at this. Look at last season. The Mets they were in first place for well over 100 days. And that was when DeGrom was healthy. But when DeGrom went down, that's when the entire team started going down. But
yes. And now you see this incredible pitching duel. If, and here's the key, both of those guys stay healthy.
I would love to see like Buck Showalter and Ozzie Guillen. If he's not a manager,
Lord,
Ozzie Guillen will be probably a decent choice. And if Eduardo Perez is not even managing right now, if he's manager, I would love to see those three candidates become a manager. And they probably overpaid for Max Scherzer. I definitely agree. But again, it's worth the risk because the only pitcher you had was consistent was Jacob deGrom. He needs help. Jacob deGrom needs help behind him. And then the Mets are good enough to compete. They just fell off the face of the earth. As soon as they got Baez, they fell off the face of the earth.
And think about this too, Dante. As soon as when DeGrom got hurt with those back issues, which is and some pitchers will tell you that like it's a hard thing to come back from, especially like DeGrom and they actually shut down DeGrom for the rest of the year, and that's what hurt the Mets. And I really have to say this too, but man, and they're basically their bullpen is so inconsistent. I mean, the only guy that I actually like in that bullpen is Trevor May because obviously he was the former Phillies guy, which I know he's let him crap out of me, but I mean. It's just like it's something that all of it, like the NL East needs to take account. And then the NL East has seen, Max Scherzer a handful of times, no matter if it's us, the Mets, the Angels, or not the Angels, the Nationals. Holy Christ, I don't think of the American League. But overall, I mean, do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I was going to bring in one more thing.
Shoot.
I was going to bring in how frustrating was Francisco Lindor last year. How frustrating that guy was. All that money, all that noise he talked about.
And couldn't produce.
He complained about his money consistently, just like Jonathan said this morning in his video. Chase Claypool don't deserve to have no damn music. And it made it seem how Francisco Lindor play was terrible at the plate. Terrible at the plate. The harass the organization about his damn money, just ridiculous. Get out there, make a play. Get out there, make a play on the batting stand. Would you? Instead of talking noise about you want your money, earn your money at the plate. That was a piss poor season that Francisco Lindor had, and he was so frustrating last year. He was so frustrating.
He was, and think about this too. Back his times in Cleveland, like he actually was very great in the at the plate too. Like he was like he says a 300 hitter during his time in Cleveland. And it's just like the fact that it's like you're having all this talk about, getting a huge contract, but you're not. I think, in my honest opinion, I think that's I think they've made a mistake of giving him that big of a contract, in my honest opinion, just because it's just, I don't know though, man. It's crazy to really see. But yeah. Any final thoughts before we wrap up the show?
The Dodgers might be in a world of trouble going into next season. And here's why. Not only because they lost a lot in free agency, but because of the luxury tax threshold. They might be over that. They're going to really have to pay for,
you got to pay that. Was it? I don't even know what the terms were, the tax threshold. I know they're really because I feel like they're already going to increase it, but I think they're going to be way over the tax threshold.
They're going to be way over, and that's troubling for them moving forward, because that could hurt them in free agency down the road. And, they're going to have to still figure out a way to pay other guys in the future, like Cody Bellinger,
who was
Walker Buehler down the road. It's going to be a number of players who's going to be due for big paydays.
I was about to say a big payday, because you got these, and that's another thing too. Since obviously with Kershaw on the market, would you be? I don't think he's never leaving the Dodgers. There's no way in hell.
No, I think he's a lifer too.
Because the dude, I mean, obviously, you could make a case for him to be an automatic Hall of Famer, the career that he has, despite the injuries that he's had, which I know kind of what's derailed him, but I think he's going to get in no matter what. Am I wrong here? Am I in the wrong here?
I think you talking about Kershaw?
Yeah, for Kershaw.
After his career, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. No brainer.
Because the fact that he's getting compared to Sandy Koufax and what he's doing is and probably one of the Dodger greats. I mean, obviously, one of the greatest Dodgers of all time is Jackie Robinson, which people that's obviously true. But I mean, some other Dodger greats, like I said, Sandy Koufax. He has Duke Snider. Some of these others. The fact that he actually broken records that Sandy Koufax has set for the Dodgers, okay, it's just it gets you thinking. It's man, this guy was an exceptional talent since coming into the league. But I think that's all we have for today. Jonathan, thanks for coming on, man. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I love talking baseball.
Great job.
Absolutely, man.
There you go, man.
But with that all out of the way, this is Robert.
Say bye. Say bye.
Bye. But with that all out of the way, this is obviously from Robert from Philly Sports Talk Podcast. We got Coach Dante Key in the building, and Jonathan from the ASAP Sports Network. We're out of the building.